What up, guys? Welcome to Harry Dating Convos. This is the show where you go to learn how to date and be better with women. I'm your host, as always, HarryWilmington, and on today's show, we're going to be answering a question about Oneitis. What is it? Why do men get it? And how is it that oftentimes men's emotions for women can beat out their logic, and what you can do to make sure that you're still in a logical frame of mind as you're going about in your dating journey. I know guys like to think that of the two sexes, we are the less emotional ones, but I can assure you when it comes to women, when it comes to trying to get with somebody and trying to feel like you're wanted and valued and you're having a high attraction for somebody, it is very easy for even the most logical of guys to allow their emotions and feelings of desire mixed with anxiety to get the best of them. And that can result in you making wrong decisions about attracting women, even if you know logically what you should be doing and can't understand why it is you're doing other things instead. So that's the main topic. We're going to get into that. As always, this show is about you guys. So if you have any questions you want to ask during the course of the show, you are welcome to do so. Also, as always, this show is brought to you by my website, HarryWilmington.com. You can go there to check out my ebooks, various audiobooks, and my coaching program like this one right here. As always, this show is brought to you by Get Girls Academy, my exclusive program designed to help you attract, date, and keep the women you want. As a member, you'll gain access to proven strategies, insider tips, and bi-monthly group coaching sessions where we tackle your biggest questions live. Click the link in the description to learn more and join today. So yeah, you can go check out all that wonderful stuff at HarryWilmington.com. And so, yeah, we're going to talk about this Oneitis thing today. So oftentimes I'll go on to various chat boards where there are guys that are trying to talk about dating and getting advice and not knowing what to do. And so I came across such a board today, and the question he had was about him trying to date this woman that he initially was just kind of like, not really interested in. And then as soon as he became interested, he started doing the things that typically chase women away. And so he's recognizing, oh my God, I have Oneitis. What do I do about that? Now, for those of you that are not well-versed in the lingo of like dating content, Oneitis is a term that guys often use to mean a guy that is just stuck on one woman. Like for whatever reason, you find this woman, you're highly attracted to her. And from that point on, your brain is like mush to where she is seemingly the only woman you can possibly see yourself getting with. You become obsessed with her and you're thinking, I got to do all these things to make sure that I get her. And oftentimes that's very short-sighted of guys, because I want you guys to have an abundance mindset. As if the woman in front of you, you hope it works, but if it doesn't, you know there are other women out there. I have found dating from that position, it typically makes it a lot easier, because by not being obsessed about any one particular woman, you can actually keep your eyes open to what's really going on. And then when the good women come along, fantastic. But if she starts acting out of pocket or you start seeing red flags, you know you're easy to just get the freak out of there. You know? And so this guy is going through a situation where he's realizing, I'm having a hard time not doing things that are turning this woman off, but I don't know what else to do. So we're going to read through his situation and we're going to break down what exactly is going on, how it is that even men that are logical can start getting in their emotions and doing the wrong things, and what you need to do when you're dating to make sure that this does not happen. So to start off with, we will read this guy's message. Oh, by the way, guy that's speaking in the chat, if you want to just leave me a description of what you went through, I will also answer your question on this show. Okay, so here's this guy's situation. So this guy wrote on a post, he said, just wanted to get some good info about the Oneitis that I'm experiencing. So this guy is 26. And the girl that he started talking to is 31. So she's a little bit older, all right? And you know, women are already pretty well versed in this game ahead of most dudes. So if you're dating an older woman, she's even more ahead of the game than you probably are. So you got to be on your A game when you're dating older women. How do I know? Been there, done that, wrote a book about it. So this guy goes, I started talking to this woman who's 31, back and forth for months, but never really taking it super seriously. And I could feel that she was into me, but I was not all that interested. That's going to be key for later, because right now he's noticing he wasn't really trying to get with her And as a result of that, she was doing a lot of things that indicated that she was interested. This is key because I tell you guys all the time, women when they like you, they will show you all the signs. And as much as people want to argue this point, the reality is that women need to feel as if they need to come to you, because part of how they stroke their ego is going to men and being able to see that they're able to do things that get men to validate them. And so when women come to you is the time for you to do things that let her know that you care. But you just voluntarily putting that stuff out there without her coming to you for it, it can cause her to feel like she's being overwhelmed. It's the whole like cat theory where, a cat people try to go to a cat in the room and the cat's trying to get away because it's like, oh, these people, but you'll have that one person that's not trying to do anything to the cat and the cat just kind of walks over and it's just like, oh, they're not paying attention. Now I got to do things to make sure this human pays attention. I got to rub its leg. I got to walk across it. I got to jump in its lap. I know this because I'm not a cat person. I'm very much allergic to cat dander. And yet everywhere I go where there's cats and I'm trying to leave them alone, they come over to me in spite of 5 other people being in the room that want to touch the cat. So it's the same theory as it is with women too, that they are coming to you to seek your attention and your approval. And the problem could be you're not letting them because you've bought into the lie that you have to do in order to get. And that is typically not true. But anyway, so this guy says, so he did that where he wasn't trying to go after her too much and she was showing interest. He says, eventually I gave it a shot and I asked her out of boredom / self-amusement. So even when he asked her out, he wasn't super serious about it. He's like, I got nothing else to do, so why not? Again, perfect mentality. He says, ended up kind of digging the vibe and also kind of allowed some older peers of mine to get into my head a bit about how she might be the one, which I always knowingly believed there is no such thing. There is not. However, somehow it ended up plaguing my brain after the date, and I could tell I became a lot more reactive via text, trying to get her to come out with me again. And then even doing something as stupid as being direct about my intentions. He says, huge mistake, I know, which I can now tell the power and attraction has completely shifted. Now, we've talked about this on this show. Why did this happen? It's because, again, women want to have the feeling that spending time with you is their choice. They're coming to you. They're seeking you out. This is why I say if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. Because if she's chasing you, it's her choice to be around you versus it feeling forced. And what this guy did in the beginning was all the right stuff. He was kind of nonchalant. He asked her out, oh, what this is that. And then what happened? He got into his head. He had a good time. And as men, we assess things very fast. He's thinking back on all those women that he didn't have good conversations with and all those other dates he went on where he didn't have a good time. And now he's found this woman. They had a good conversation. They had a good time. And now he's like, oh, I've never experienced this. Well, I've done my analysis. I'm in love. I have feelings. And now I got to try to do things to get her, even though the way he initially got her was not doing things, just hanging out, being himself, no pressure, nothing. And when I say don't do anything, I don't mean like, obviously, if you like a girl, you're going to ask her out. But women can start to feel when it goes from a guy's just kind of casually seeking out his options and seeing if she might be a fit to like, oh my God, he's totally already chosen me after just one date and I don't really know this guy, okay? So I can imagine beyond just him trying to get her out on a date again, it's him what? It's him trying to text her on multiple days. It's him talking about, I could see us having a future together. We got along great on that date. I already have feelings. And how many of you guys out there have made that mistake? Because Lord knows in my dating journey, I definitely thought I had to do what this guy did. I got to be direct. Just so you know, if we date, it's not going to just be about sex. I have intentions of possibly trying to date you because we think what? That's what women want to hear. And more importantly, need to hear from us in order to decide, oh, he said he's not going to play games with me. I'll totally date this guy. Giving women assuredness of what you intend to do with them does not actually turn them on. In part because they've had tons of guys say stuff to them and not follow through. So them spending time with you and seeing the kind of guy you are repeatedly and consistently to where they can build trust, that's going to help them determine ultimately if they want to be with you long term. Not you saying, hey, I have feelings, and then her being like, I have feelings too. But that's what the media feeds us. So as guys, we got to be mindful that the media is feeding us a lot of lies about how romance works, about how attraction works, about the things that women should want versus what they actually want, because women don't want this. Women don't want you to come to them and say, I have feelings, I have intentions of dating you, all this other stuff. Because if their feelings aren't there yet, they don't care what your feelings are. This is why I tell you guys, less is more. You ask them for dates, they say yes, you show up, you have a good time, you try to make them laugh, you take them to some fun places. You're not talking feelings, emotions, future, all these things that actually chase women away. I got a whole book on my website called No Girls For You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams, where I talk about this kind of stuff, about how doing these things can actually make you lose women, even though we believe it should cause them to want to stay. And the reality is, regardless of what you think should work on a woman, what's going to work on them is what's been working on them for eons. So you trying to come into the game with this new paradigm of like, no. I'm going to be the one guy that can tell a woman I see a future with her and that she wants me. And if she doesn't like it, then she can you're going to lose a lot of women. Real talk. So anyway, continuing on, he says, so after the whole telling feelings thing, he said, I'm pulling back a lot, but I just can't seem to shake the feeling or the intrusive thoughts, even though I logically and rationally understand the concept. So basically, he's saying, okay, I know some of the concept that I've learned about women and what not to say to them or what not to do, and yet I still find myself wanting to do them. And so this guy's 26. This is a very common thing to feel in the mid of your 20s when you're just starting to figure out women and you're starting to get a little bit of success and you're thinking, because I have a little bit of success with this woman, most women don't find me attractive. Therefore, your brain tricks you into thinking, and therefore, she's a unicorn. She's different from all women. So I can just throw away all the concepts that I learned because she's going to be different and she's not going to fall for the tactics, and then you're going to lose her, just like he has right now. This is a time and time again thing. And part of this is because women will make you believe that they're different and that, oh, I don't play games, or, oh, well, I just want a guy that's going to be upfront with me about his feelings. I'm not going to be scared by a guy telling me how much he wants me and blah, 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 blah. And what they don't realize is that's true for men that they're already in relationships with, but a guy they're just getting to know coming to them and telling him, hey, after 2 dates, I already see a future. I already want to sleep with you. I'm not playing games. I really care much about you. Like, those things don't work on guys they just met. And that's where women get confused, because they're not giving out the worst advice. It's just the timing of when their advice is going to actually work is not during the dating phase. It's for like 6 months into a relationship when you can say, I love you a bit more, when you can text her a little bit more and it not have too much of an effect. But early on, you need to be giving her enough time to enjoy the moments with you and then pulling back so she can want more of that. If she doesn't get that feeling of want, which you have to provide for her, then she's not going to build up attraction at a faster way. And a lot of guys have a problem with this concept because, again, if we're trying to be honest guys who aren't jerks and aren't playing games, we want to be upfront. We want to spend all our time with her because we know we already like her. But you got to ask yourself, is that what she actually needs in order to build that attraction? And the answer I found is no. So this is why he's having a conflicting thought between, like, he's wanting to do things that he logically knows should work, but feelings-wise, he's not quite there yet. So he says, first off, I'd like to know what you think I should do in terms of the situation. I have about 2 to 3 other spinning plates. That means he has other girls in his orbit that he's dating and fooling with. But I am just not all that into them, and I use them mostly for the abundance mindset. Well, in the beginning, I would say, honestly, I always encourage guys in the beginning of their dating journeys to be dating multiple women. And what that does is that the more you do that, that convinces your brain a lot quicker that you can get women. And a lot of guys right now, you're not in the position where you think you can get women beyond the 1 or 2 that are attracted to you. But at the point that your brain's able to finally realize that you are a guy that multiple women will want, then you can date one woman at a time and you won't put on as much pressure as the guys do that don't think they can get other women. So you date other women in the beginning so that way your brain gets that, okay, because like me, at the age I'm at, I can date one woman at a time. But the thing is, I don't obsess over them. I don't pressure them. I don't have Oneitis over any woman that I'm dating because I know that I'm going to be coming from a logical point where I'm going to have a good time with them, but I'm going to be analyzing them, looking for red flags, seeing if they're also consistent. And if at any time this goes haywire, I have a parachute, I'm getting out of here. And a lot of guys don't have the ability to believe that they can get other women. So therefore, they haven't practiced being able to get out of a relationship and then get into another one. I've had that practice, so I know that that's how it should go. But for guys that are new to this, they need to get in their mind that they can actually be that guy also. So I would say if you're spinning plates, again, you don't owe the girl that you have a high crush on or any of these so-called plates any of your loyalty yet. You went on one date with this girl, and now you're obsessed with her, and you're chasing her away, and you have other girls in the background that are highly interested, but you're not chasing them, and that's making them like you more. That's why I tell you guys, you have to treat women that you're highly interested in the same way you would treat a nonchalant girl that you don't give two craps about. Guys, their heads explode when I say that, but understand that that woman that you have high interest in, she needs the same kind of treatment that you give these girls you don't care about, because they're building attraction fast. And this woman, if you want her to build attraction fast, you got to do the same stuff. This does not mean you don't show that you don't care, because you're going to ask her out. You're going to try to touch her and feel her and hook up with her and all this other stuff. But it means the overextension of what you're trying to do should just be gotten rid of altogether. No extra text, no extra date nights during the week that you first met them. Like you put every girl, high interest, middle interest, low interest, on the same schedule. And then that gives you time to see what they're actually like. Because the girl you're highly interested in, at some point in time, somebody else was dating her and they dumped her, which means there's something about her that's going to be annoying. There's going to be a habit she has you didn't think that she had. She could potentially have exes in the background that you didn't anticipate. And so if you come at this more level-headed, then it's going to be easier to suss that out. But again, I get it, because that's a logical thing to say to you guys. But if you're really having just full-on high interest in a woman, it's hard to use your logical brain when all your emotions are like, but I want to treat her the best ever, even though you don't really know her. And then he said, secondly, I want to know if you've had the same dilemma where you can understand something logically about being a rational dater, but struggle to integrate it on a deeper level and understanding, and what you have done to make it a part of who you are and not just something that you know. And so this is really the bigger question that I actually want to answer on the show today, because the thing is, there's a wide variety of reasons why oneitis happens. And once you understand A, why it happens, and then B, have examples of what that looks like in terms of the fight between your logics and emotions, you can start to get more cerebral and analytical about your dating process. And even going so far as, like, when you start feeling a high interest in women, being able to stop yourself and say, okay, what am I feeling right now that's different from when I see other girls that have been interested in me in the past? What am I feeling in terms of my anxiousness, my nervousness, my jealousiness, all this other stuff? And then where's that coming from? Because it's important to understand where oneitis comes from, right? So first off, just to summarize this guy's thing, right? So first, he wasn't all that into her, but then he decided to ask her out, and then he realized he had a great time on the date. And as a result of that, now he's suddenly having second thoughts about, oh, I didn't think I liked her all that much, but now I'm starting to have feelings. And it went from like starting to have feelings to just full-blown feelings really, really quickly, right? And so understand, for guys, again, because we don't typically, we like a lot of women, but that doesn't mean a lot of women connect with us, let alone women that agree to dates. So when a woman suddenly decides, yes, I will go on a date with you, our brains are automatically seeing her as different from other women. And because she said yes to a date, we have to treat her differently. And that's where our brains first get tricked, right? And then don't have a good time on the date, don't connect with the person. That's just going to cause a lot more of a feeling of connection to happen, that you're like, I want to just go ahead and rush into this. And as a guy, you're going to be feeling after 2 or 3 dates that that's more than enough time, because you're thinking, okay, let's say you take on a date once a week, right? Well, in between dates, that's 7 days, right? So by the time you hit the third date, that's 21 days. You're now thinking, I've been dating her for 21 days. Why are we in a relationship? And what she's feeling is, we've only seen each other 3 times. Now, you've been thinking about her for 21 days. And not to say that she hasn't been thinking about you, but on a realistic in-person level, she's only seen you 3 times. So when you come to her on the third date talking about feelings and wanting a relationship, she's going to feel like you're obsessed with her, because to her, it's only been 3 dates, which means it's only really been at most 6 to 8 hours. In her brain, that is not enough time. but you're already getting obsessed about her because, again, in your line of dating, you haven't had a lot of women say yes, and this one did. And so by proxy of that, she said yes 3 times now. You're thinking she must definitely like you. She must definitely have already made a decision about you because no girl in your life has ever said yes to 3 dates and she didn't. Oh my God. And that's not what they're thinking or feeling at all, right? But at the point that you start feeling things, you shift from being indifferent about the girl to now being overly invested. And here's the thing about women. Women can sense the difference between when you're just nonchalantly dating her and when you are overly investing in her. They can sense that energy shift. They're very, very good with this. So you're thinking, but I'm not doing more than just, but what are you doing? You went from texting her every so often to like every day. And you went from just talking about non-sequential stuff to talking about feelings and futures and what do our kids look like and all this other stuff. Like, you may not be aware, but you're definitely showing a shift that she can notice, and it's making her a little uneasy. And then on top of that, of course, anytime during the dating process, you're telling a woman things like, I care about you, I see a future with you, I already have feelings with you, you lose power. Like, I know guys don't like to hear that, but realistically, women want to be the ones that have to come to you and tell you, hey, so just so you know, I really care about you, blah, blah, blah. And they want to do it first. Now, women will fight me on that all day. They're not the ones that have to deal with them as men going to them, trying to tell them feelings. I've just learned in my dating journey, I fared far better when I let the women talk more often about their feelings and seeing futures than when I did it. So that's not a thing that I feel I now have to say to women. Like, I don't feel like, well, it's not fair that she can tell me her feelings and I can't tell her mine. I'm showing her by taking her out and by giving her orgasms and by, listening to her when she talks. She can feel that I care. This is why when you verbalize it, it feels like too much because women are already instinctually pulling off from you based on your actions that you probably care about them. And so when you talk about it, it feels like 3 times more. This is why I tell you guys, in terms of verbalizing how you feel about women, it should be 3 times less than they're doing it because your 1/3 to her 3 times is going to match up feelings-wise to her because you're supplementing that with actions that you're doing with her. And women can sense that. On top of when they like you, they're already projecting out to you goodwill that you probably like them. So with all that going on, you are overburdening them when you're doing the most, all right? So with that said, though, let's break down what this guy's mistakes really actually was. Because what he's doing, basically, this is a classic example of logic versus emotion in the sense that this guy seemingly knows what he should be doing and what would actually work. But the problem is he falls into the trap that most guys fall into, which is that he has emotions, and then he has these emotional impulses that are overriding his logic. You ever had a crush on a girl and been like, okay, I've already sent her 2 texts and she hasn't responded back. And so I know the logical thing is probably to stop sending her text and wait for her to respond back. And yet 2 hours later, you're just like, I gotta send her something. And then you do, and then she sends back a 1-word answer that you can clearly indicates on your end that, oh, she wasn't enthused by that. That's an example of, okay, you knew logically this was a bad idea. In fact, I have a lot of guys write me, they'll say things like, so I did this thing, and then in parentheses, they'll say, yeah, Harry, I know it was stupid. And my thought is so you knew it was stupid before you did it, but you did it. Why did you do it? But back in my 20s, I would have done the same crap. I would have, especially when I started learning the right things to do, because I was in the habit so long of doing particular behaviors that even if they weren't working, felt like they should work, that I would learn a thing, I would try it out on a woman, it would work, and then I'd be like, oh, it worked. So she likes me now. So now I can go back to the old stuff because that feels good. And then they'd lose interest. And it happened enough times where I was like, maybe I should stop going back to the old stuff and really focus on the newer stuff. But the newer stuff wasn't as tested as the older stuff. And even though the newer stuff was going to work better, I didn't have proof of that. And so having to set your mind frame to the idea that you're going to try new stuff and that it could also not work if you don't do it the right way, it makes you feel like I might as well just do the old stuff. And so it can be a struggle between you're learning new stuff, you've seen it work, you've seen testimonials, you've seen your guy friends do it, you've gone to dating forums where other guys have said this stuff actually works, but you haven't done it yet. And so there's that eternal struggle of like, I'm hearing logically what should work, but emotionally, it's making me want to revert back to these other behaviors that are simp behaviors that I know aren't going to work, but why do I keep doing them? So I'm going to give you examples of what this looks like, right? So for example, like I said, with the texting thing, you might, on a logical level, know that sending less text is actually more beneficial. But the problem is, emotionally, you're thinking, but if I don't text her, I'm going to be a nervous wreck. I'm going to be anxious. And so I feel as though if I text her, then I'm going to fare better because on some level, I still think as though she's going to want to hear from me. And if I do hear from her, then it's going to reassure me that I'm actually liked. Versus if she doesn't, then, oh my God, it's going to mess with your ego, right? And so this happens because the brain hates uncertainty. And so with the texting situation, when you feel like you're starting to lose control, your brain is trying to text to seek that immediate relief. Like, okay, if I text her, then eventually she's going to respond, and then, everything will be back to normal. But the problem is that seeking reassurance, it can actually, on her end of things, make you look weak because confident men would not need to constantly text her to seek approval. Because again, if she sees value in you, she wants to think she has to come to you in order to feel validated on her end. So you going to her, it makes her think, oh, he's not as confident as I thought he was, and I'm out. But again, if you're stuck on the emotional side of things, you trying to text her is going to be nonstop, and it's going to eventually not work in your favor. Another example, logically, you may understand that expressing your feelings, you shouldn't do it. Almost every guru on YouTube, on books that knows their salt in this game knows that you do not go to a woman that you're dating and start spitting out emotions. Heck, I tell you guys, you shouldn't even be asking her for a relationship. You should leave that up to her, right? So, and you don't have to go take my word for it. You've probably had your own experience where you've gone to a girl and told her exactly how you feel. I don't want to hide this. I had a crush on you. I really like you. I think we'd be good together, blah, 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 blah. I did this in high school one time where like I took this girl to prom, and I took her to prom because in part, I knew she kind of liked me. We went to prom, had a good time. And then I get to the door at the end of the night, and I could tell she wanted me to kiss her, and I didn't do it. And the next time I saw her at school, I felt all weird or bad about it, and things felt awkward. I said, you know what? Maybe she's feeling awkward because she doesn't realize that I wanted to kiss her, but I like her so much that I was scared and blah, blah, blah. So I wrote her a whole note about how much I cared about her and how I just, I wanted to kiss her, but like I felt kind of nervous and I really did like her and blah, blah, blah. And I put it in her locker at school. And at the end of the school day, I saw her and she gave me a hug and it was all great. She knows I like her now. And then like from then on, I would try to talk to her, or this is back in like the AOL Instant Messenger days, guys. But we would usually like talk on AOL Instant Messenger and just, hee-haw chat, whatever. After that happened, I was getting little or no responses. And then come to find out, I found out her and my best friend at the time ended up making out at some random party. And I wasn't even mad at him. I was just like, oh, that sucks. And he probably didn't have to tell any kind of feelings to get her to do that. But I learned, telling a woman your feelings, it adds pressure to them because now they feel like they got to come back with all these feelings. And if they haven't had time to explore what they really feel about the situation, it just feels like pressure. And so, but again, at the time, I'm thinking, I know that going to a girl and telling her my feelings isn't a good idea, but I had no other form of recourse of what to do. So I just said, well, she's different. She said yes to prom. I'll try it out. Didn't work. So understand, guys, like we're thinking that expressing our feelings is going to allow us to secure an emotional investment in her. That's why we bypass our logic and think, but it's feelings. Women are about feelings. You always hear on TV shows, just tell me how you feel and it works. So I'm going to do the same thing. But it doesn't work like that because when attraction is still developing, women want to feel like they're earning your commitment and not like you're just handing it to them freely. And so that's why that doesn't work. And again, you could logically know that, but still think, but she's different. I'm going to tell feelings. Hopefully you've had enough experiences to know that's probably not what's going to happen. Another example is the logic of knowing that when a woman starts to kind of do a little bit of ghosting, you should probably pull back. Like I have yet to have a woman pull back on me where a solution that worked was me chasing after her more. Like, oh, she's starting to ignore me. I'm going to text her more. I'm going to tell her feelings and we should hang out. And hey, why are you leaving? And you don't understand or realize that you're doing this to me. And then she'll be like, you know what? You're totally right. I didn't know I was ghosting. My bad. I'm going to come see you twice as much now. That's what we hope is going to happen. But like logically, we know that it's not going to happen. But yet emotionally, we just don't know how to handle that. And so we don't think that we're pulling back, because even if we think we're pulling back, our brains are still obsessing, we're still analyzing. And so that can cause us to still want to reach out to the person, right? And so understand that another part of this is that we think that if we pull back, she's going to feel as though we're trying to fake interest or that we're just trying to do some kind of tactic. But it's not about that. You legitimately should be pulling back also because you don't need her validation. But for a girl that you really like a lot, all you're doing is trying to seek validation. So it doesn't make sense to say to yourself, okay, in order to actually get her validation, I need to pull back so that way she'll realize I'm not there, and then she'll come seek me out, which will then give me the validation. Now what do we think, guys? If I pull away logically, then she's going to think he's not interested and find somebody else. And I have found that pulling away is a great way to let women understand and actually feel and see that you're not as obsessed about them as maybe they thought you were when they started to pull away, which makes them think, oh, now I want to see him again, which now makes it her choice to see you, whereas before she thought you were taking that choice away. But it can be very, very hard as a guy to do that, because our thought is like, ultimately, if this, you're hoping that pulling away works, but you're not sure it's going to work, and therefore it's not actually a real detachment. And so you have to get to the point where you are ultimately detached to the outcomes. If a woman wants to see you, whatever, great. If a woman doesn't want to see you, whatever, great, because you'll just find somebody else. But if you're not actually there yet, then pulling off detachment and using it as a logical strategy is always going to be a hard thing for you to do. Another thing is understanding the abundance mindset. Now, logically, you should know if this one woman in front of you said, yeah, she would date you at one point in time, that there are other women out there that will also say yes. That's the logic, right? But emotionally, what we think is that, for one, you're not genuinely interested in these other women. And therefore, if you spend time with them, then it's not being honest with them. And you're like the bad boy now. But also, the other thought is that ultimately, with multiple women, they feel like distractions and not actual options. And that if you have other women around you, why would the woman that you actually want come back and be like, oh my God, you have other women, I now want to date you? In a guy's head, that doesn't make logical sense. So emotionally, we think that, yeah, I should probably have multiple options, but I just like this other one so much, and I don't want to risk losing her or hurting her feelings when she finds out that I'm dating other women besides her. Like, oh my God, what would she think? And this is why I tell you guys, it behooves you to learn more about female logic and to learn more about the things that actually turn them on. Because a lot of times, the things that help to attract them quicker are not things that make logical sense to guys. I don't know. Well, I know now, but it's hard to explain how you having other girls in your orbit is going to make the girl you want you. I just know from my personal experience that when I've been dating and a woman was kind of wishy-washy and I told her I couldn't see her because I had other things to do, that resulted in that other woman suddenly realizing she wanted to spend more time with me. And to guys, it feels dishonest. It feels like she's only choosing you because another woman wanted you. Yeah, it's called, what is it called? It's called the vetting process. Like, it's basically women like it when other women like you because those other women are in effect vetting you as if to say, yes, this guy is top tier. This guy is a choice that you should choose. And so sometimes, and hey, women sometimes we don't get it, but understand women are very communal, right? Part of them going after certain guys is knowing that this guy, in fact, can have other friends, can have a social circle. If you're not wanted by any other women, what does that say about you potentially having a low social circle, which she's going to want to jump into, right? And so understand, again, this won't make logical sense, but if you start to understand the reasoning behind why it is women make some of their choices, then you'll be able to be less emotional when you do things like date multiple women. Because right now, I've had guys fight me on, well, I don't want to date multiple women. That's playing games. I should only date one, this and that. And then understanding it's not about you having a bunch of tail to get. It's about the fact that you become detached which women feel safer around, and women can see you're a viable candidate, and that's all good stuff, right? And so it ain't like you got to say to a woman you're dating, by the way, I'm dating 4 or 5 other women. Again, women can read off of guys that get women, and they can read off the guys that don't. And the more that you're able to put yourself out there with other women, you'll start to just have the natural feel that other women like you. And then if you choose to date one woman at a time, you can, but you'll still have that aura that says, but if this doesn't work out, I will totally let go of you. So please give me a reason, woman, that I'm dating right now. Give me a reason to keep you around. And that's a better mind frame to go into this than, oh, I can't date multiple options. I don't think I even have other options. So I got to do, don't do that, right? So anyway, with all that said, ultimately, we do all this stuff because we're unsure of ourselves and we're anxious. We have high interest, and our high interest is blinding us to the idea that other women could be out there. And that honestly, the girl in front of us, she could be not that great. We don't know yet. We haven't actually spent enough time with her to really see if she's actually that great of a person, but our brains process fast. We assume it is, and it just causes more pressure on us. So the question is, how can you rewire your brain so that way you have a more abundant mindset, and more importantly, you don't have Oneitis with any other chick? Because I don't care if it's a girl you just met. I don't care if she's your girlfriend. I don't care if she's your fiance, if she's the wife now. You should not have Oneitis. Yes, if you choose a person to get with, that's great, and you should care on them and love on them as much as you possibly can. But the marriages that I've seen work are the ones where the guy's not overly obsessed with the woman. If anything, the woman's typically more obsessed with the guy. But the man being overly obsessed, I find women don't actually appreciate that. And I'll probably do a whole different show on that altogether. But yeah, you need to go into a thing where your eyes are always focused on what's going on. And women need to have an understanding that you're not to be walked all over, and that if things aren't going the way that you need them to go on your side of the relationship, that you are willing to leave. But that's a hard mindset, especially at the age of 25 and 26, when you haven't had a lot of experience and you don't really have it built in you, this idea that other women could actually be out there, and that obsessing over any one woman is never the best in your best interest. So how do you do this? Well, for one, the first start is learning to be detached from outcomes. And this takes practice, but it's the understanding that your real confidence is going to come from understanding that regardless of if the woman sticks around or not, you'll be fine either way. Now, for you guys that are dating that's early in the dating game, you may have only had 1 or 2 women leave you, or 1 or 2 breakups, but you survived those. You got past them. You put yourself back out there. You went to a party, went to a networking event, went to a bar, and other women talked to you. All right. And there's an abundance of women. If God had just the one for you, he wouldn't have made a planet where we have approximately 4 to 5 billion women. All right. So get out of the small mind frame thinking that this one girl in front of you is the only one you'll ever be able to get other. I don't care yet. You have high feelings for her. It's great. You care about her immensely. But for right now, you being obsessed about that is not going to help you get her. So you got to be more observational. You got to be a bit more detached, and you're going to find that results in you getting better results with women. Secondly, start building true abundance, not just with dating women, but just knowing that in general, don't let women determine your value. Like this guy right here is very much thinking, now that he's interested in this woman, he's thinking, well, I got to call her up. And if she doesn't say yes to a date, then, oh my God, what's that mean? And that speaks to, he's allowing her saying yes or no to a date to determine how he feels about himself. He's thinking, I got to tell her feelings. And then if she doesn't say them back, then that's going to make him feel worse. This is why, again, you don't go in talking about feelings. All right. You got to have a straight head on and understand that you need to have more of an abundant mindset. There are plenty of women out there for you to get. Also start studying up on patterns. Really recognize the feelings you have and the thoughts you have, because I don't think enough men do a good job of really sitting down and actually sitting with their feelings. And this is an exercise that I started doing, whereby I would have a crush on a woman and I'd be overly obsessed, and I'd sit down and I'd be, okay, wait, let me just get logical. Let me just sit down with myself. Let me think. I've been out with her one time. What about that one time has made me suddenly think that she's wifey material off of one date? I don't know enough of her history. I've learned a little bit about her on this date, but what is it about these situations that result in me feeling all the things? Why is it that when I see this girl that's really, really pretty, she smells good, she looks nice, I'm suddenly thinking with my little head versus my big head, and I'm thinking, therefore, I must be in love. Like, what's that about? And then I start getting observational. Okay, so I'm noticing when I meet a girl that I really like for the first time, do I get butterflies? Am I feeling my heart and stuff racing? What kind of thoughts am I having? Like, you really got to start, if you take the one-itis part off of this, all she is a reflection of where you're at in terms of how you feel about yourself and where you're at in your journey, right? So use that. Use her as a reflection. I see her and I feel these things and I think these thoughts. Where is that coming from? Did I not get enough hugs as a kid? Am I a person that I feel down on myself and I need her for validation? And if so, why is that? And you'll start to read that, like, over time, you'll start thinking, wait a minute, I really don't know her all that much after one date. Like, yeah, we had a good hookup, but we've only had 2 or 3 dates so far, and I still haven't met her family or friends. I haven't seen how she talks to servers or waiters. I haven't had a fight with her. I haven't had any ideas about what happens when she doesn't get her way. Like, if I say no to her for something, like, I don't know these things. And then create a checklist. Create a checklist of the things you need to experience and see out of a woman before you decide that you're going to have all these big feelings. I know you're thinking, but how do I just decide that? And I have found that a lot of the things that we think aren't choices are choices. How you react to women is a choice. How you decide to think and feel about women is a choice. Back in the day, my choice was to have butterflies and get nervous and not be able to speak to women. As I gained more experience, I developed a new choice, which is when I meet a woman, yeah, she's hot, she's got big old boobies, she's attractive, she's got a slim waist or whatever, but I'm choosing not to let that be the thing that determines my reaction. My reactions will come from how is she talking to servers? How does she talk about her family? Does she have a good relationship with her dad? How is she around her friends? When we're going on dates, does she come up to me and touch me? Is she thanking me for the dates? Like, I have a whole checklist of other things that I'm looking for before I decide, you know what? She checks all these boxes on an emotional level, life-wise, she wants this stuff. And now I'm going to give my full heart to this person. And even then, I'm giving my full heart. This does not mean I'm going to have one-itis. It's saying I'm going to be all in on this person. But if anything goes wrong, my heart will be right back over here. All right. And then also, yeah, this speaks to also having delayed emotional reactions. Yes, even as men, we sometimes react on impulse. We react on emotion. We see a woman, we feel a thing, and next thing you know, we're just automatically going with that feeling. And there are plenty of times in hindsight where I would see a woman and just have an instant crush on her, only to realize after some conversation, oh no, her lifestyle is not set up for this to happen. She argues too much. She got 1 or 2 kids. She done fought with exes before. Like, I dated a girl one time on date 3. She told me that she got abused in the past, but that she also abused guys she dated before. And I was like, oh, no. But imagine if by date 3, I was already obsessed and I had one-itis. Now I'd be looking at her trying to find excuses to make her fit into this working versus being like, objectively, you're obsessed, you text too much, and you've also been abusive, and I'm out, you know? And so if you're able to become better at not seeing any one woman as the one and having one-itis for them, you're more objective to when things pop up. So it's best for you to train yourself to delay reactions. Now with women, that could be hard, but practice that in just regular life. You know, somebody comes to you and says, hey man, good news. Guess what, guy? You're going to get a raise at your job. Practice being like this. Oh, okay. That sounds good. And then celebrating later. Like, practice when you get good news. Practice when you're going, hey, guess what? We're going to go to your favorite restaurant today. Oh, okay. That sounds good. I love that restaurant. Then you get there. Oh my God, this food is amazing. But you didn't react overly in the moment, you know? And so the more you're able to practice that, you'll start getting into the rhythm of, like, when one woman comes to you and says yes to a date or says, oh, they want to kiss you, you won't just melt out of your brain like, oh, they kissed me and touched me and want a date. Oh my God, I suddenly feel things. Like, you'll get better at not doing that to where you'll be more objective, you'll be more detached, and then you'll start to see as you date more and more women, like, oh, I see what Harry's talking about, because you really don't know a woman enough when you first meet her to have that full-on one-itis. But I can assure you, if after 1 or 2 dates, you've already built up a full-on liking to this person, where you've put them on a pedestal, they're going to feel that, and they're going to realize this guy's got one-itis. Women don't know that term, but they're going to feel like, oh, this guy's already obsessed, and you're going to lose out, all right? So hopefully this gives some explanation of why it is that one-itis happens. Ultimately, it's not bad that you have feelings for women and that you want to date them and that you want to show them affection. But there is a level that you go past a bit too much, and next thing you know, that woman's like, this is a lot for me. I can't handle it. and you get into a place where you're not logically in your brain anymore thinking about what you should do that's going to actually work, and you result in having your emotions default back to bad behavior that's not going to actually work. So hopefully now this will help you to stay a bit more in your logical area when you're dealing with women, and you'll get better results as a result of all that. So hopefully this helps you out. So yeah, if you have a question, by all means, please ask it in the chat. I would love to answer it. But hopefully, yeah, I had oneitis so bad. I realized in high school and in college, like I was just like, again, everything I teach you guys is stuff that I have gone through personally. Like I have seen the end result of having oneitis. I had like females that I was friends with that I was trying to like get into relationships with that I would be friends with for like 5, 7, 10 years, having a crush on them and just obsessing about them to where I wouldn't want to date any other people on the off chance that they finally decided to choose me. And they never did. And so I just learned, oh, this is not a good way to be. And so I had to objectively be like, they're going after other people. And so me trying to like stick around and think that, oh, I'm going to whatever, like it wasn't going to work. And so I had to remove myself from those situations and be able to start seeking out women that actually wanted to date me. And even then I would find one that wanted to date me. And I had to teach myself, okay, hopefully this will work out, but don't think that it has to. And don't think that it will. Because realistically, there are so many women that are out there, and while they're going out with you, they're possibly going out with like other people also. It's just a numbers game. Some are bound to choose you because you're the best candidate, and some are just bound to be like, it was fine, but I'm good. And so you lose out. And so I don't want you to be obsessing so much over any one particular woman that your just life just goes to crap just because you don't get the one girl that you were obsessing over. All right, we got a question in the chat. Let's see what the question is here. Okay. We got a question in the chat. And the question goes, a girl that I'm seeing text asking me if she can call because she wanted to hear my voice. Oh, why is this important to her? Oh God, that's so, well, okay. I am a big proponent and fan of people doing phone calls. I'm a bit older, so I understand people say it all the time, but Harry, it's 2025, texting, Snapchatting, Instagramming, messaging, like we're all about texting. Here's the thing, right? And this is why I wish more men in particular would get back to either doing more in-person stuff or doing things like calling women, is because there is something said about the tonality of your voice and what that does to a woman when she hears it against her ear. This is a very sensitive part of the body. And so whether you're whispering sweet nothings into it, whether your tonality is going in here, whether you're licking it, this is a very sensitive area and it turns women on. Think about this, right? Again, I'm a bit of an older guy, and so back in the day, like the 80s, the 90s, even like the early 2000s, you had, and even now there's some dudes that like, if you listen to R&B records by dudes, there's always that point of the record where the guy's like, get the mic up here. Hey, baby, ever since I first saw you, I couldn't get you out of my mind. And it's like, why are they whispering that? Why are they making their voices go lower? It's because those guys know that instinctually, when women hear that, they get wet down there and their panties start to like it's like Niagara Falls all of a sudden, just off the sound of your voice. And so, yeah, a big part of attraction that gets lost when you're just texting a woman is she doesn't get to hear your voice. She doesn't get to hear inflections. I know through text that jokes oftentimes get lost in translation because you could say something and you think it's funny and you text it and it doesn't read the same as if you say it, when you can say it with a little wink and a nod. You can have a bit of sarcasm in your voice so she won't misread that it's a joke. And then also she might respond back like, oh, she might be thinking on her end, oh my God, that's so funny. And what if she texts you back? LOL, haha, that's funny, period, which periods on text really give the impression that you didn't think was funny at all, right? And so if she's not trying to get misreads and if she just wants to be able to really feel more of a connection with you, yeah, she's going to want to hear your voice. So I tell men this, if you want to text and that's working for you, knock yourself out. I still typically like to do phone calls when I'm asking for dates. But also, yeah, a woman, she's going to want to hear from you. And the fact that she's reaching out and asking if she can call you, that's already a net positive win because that means you have to do less work. But yeah, if she wants to call you to talk to you, hey, so-and-so, blah, blah. Now, the problem most men have now is because we've been trained so much on text where we have time to play out a conversation. A lot of guys are afraid about running out of things to say. In fact, true story, I recently reached out to one of my aunts to wish them a happy birthday, and they chastised me for not calling them enough because or whatever. You're my nephew and you never call me, this is that. And as a guy, I'm always thinking like, but logically, if I don't have a reason to call you, then I don't have a motivation to call you. And also, it's weird for me as a guy, I'm just going to just call you up and then a conversation is just going to happen. In the world of women, they just call each other up and just start a conversation about whatever. The number of times I'll call my mom now and I'll be like, hey, Ma, how you doing? Oh, hey, what's going on? Oh, nothing. What you want to see? Just want to see what's up with you. Oh, well, all I got to do on a phone is ask a woman, so tell me about your day. So what's been up with you? And that turns into a 20-minute conversation where they talk about their day and the various points of things that happen. And all I got to do to keep the conversation going is ask follow-up questions. Oh, like my mom, like, oh, so that happened. So you heard from so-and-so? Oh, that's awesome. So what do you guys talk about? Oh man, that's great. What else did you do? Oh, you saw a TV show. What's the TV show about? Oh, I got to catch that. That show seemed really, really great. Are you cooking lunch now? What are you cooking? Like, they don't care, because for women, the conversation itself is the bonding. It doesn't matter necessarily what you talk about. It's just the fact that them hearing from you, it makes them feel a connection. Now, with that said, I want to stress again that it's a 3-to-1 ratio, because they should be calling you 3 times more than you're calling them. So I still don't want you to think that now because she wants to hear from you by a phone call that you got to call all the time. It's not what we're talking about here. But her reaching out to you and want to hear your voice, it's totally understandable why that would be a thing. So get on it. Practice your lower registry voice and get up in her ear and make her feel some things, real talk. So hopefully that helps you out. All right, let's see. We got a question here. All right. Okay. I'm liking the question. Is there more to the question? Because it seems like there should be more question there, right? Let's see. Oh, appreciate the super chat, Double K there. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, if anytime you guys have questions or want to leave a super chat, you definitely can, because it's greatly appreciated on my end. But thank you for that. Appreciate it. So I'll wait for this guy to finish his question. Assume if that's the end of the question, then let me know and I can answer it. But I assume that there's more to that story that's happening. Let's see. Just see if we have other things to talk about. I always have stuff on deck to talk about in case you guys want to hear things. Like I said, this show is ultimately about you guys. So if you have any other questions, you can ask me. I got tons of free time right now to answer questions, Let's see. This one. What's over here? Let's see. I'll talk about that. I'll take that one. Okay, let's see. So let's see. I got the question here. Okay, so I'm just gonna read through your question as is written right now. If there's more to it, let me know. Let's see. So he said, I got a situation. This guy says, it happened again. Long story short, I met a girl. Everything was going great until I held her hand on our museum date, and suddenly she got cold and distant. She literally went from spending the night and being head over heels with me to saying we'd be better as friends. Was there something about the handhold she didn't like? I know back in the day, I had a girl that I dated that I would hold her hand a certain way. And then one day she switched my hand around because she was basically saying that like a guy that's trying to lead holds the hand this way. And I guess I've been holding it in a position of submission. There are so many, my dad died when I was 9. I grew up not knowing a whole lot of stuff. And so there were so many things, little things that as guys, we're not aware of that we're doing that could be turning women off, especially if we grew up under single moms or around mostly women. We lose a lot of those man lessons that, women will say, oh, these things are no big deal, but they can just instinctually feel when a guy is making moves that are leadership moves versus moves that are like supplementary moves, And so, yeah. But anyway, in terms of this girl, in terms of you saying that you held her hand and suddenly she got cold and distant, we were spending the night being head over heels saying we'd be better off as friends. I would need to know more about the totality of you guys dating. I don't know how many dates you guys went on. I don't know what you said on these dates. I don't know what kind of museum this was or at what point you were holding her hand. I would say this. I have typically found in my dating journey that it's worked out a lot better when the women were the one initiating the touch moves. And this isn't to say that you as a guy can never initiate a touch move. Lord knows that is not what I'm saying. But this goes back to what I said earlier about this idea that as much as women complain, women want to come to us for validation. When we start going to them, it feels like we're going to them for validation, which means we're not sure of ourselves, which means we're not confident, which means we lose out. So there's this idea, for example, in the pickup artist, in the manosphere community, there's this idea called kenoing. Keno is basically a term that means that it's the idea that in order to make a woman know that we want to do stuff with her and that we're attracted to her, that we have to be the ones to initiate touch, so that it'll activate their centers like, oh, he wants to touch me, so now I have to touch him, oh my God, and then they'll be attracted that way. And I just found in my dating journey, that was never the case. Like, I often found that touching would escalate at the point where they started it first. And so this is why I tell you guys, I keep telling you guys, let women come to you. So again, I don't know what the museum situation was. I just know if it had been me at the museum, we'd have been walking around, and at some point, if she wanted to hold hands, she would have had to have done it. And this is especially true. This is especially true during the dating phase, where all the moves that are going to allow her to not feel so pressured are going to come from her. So even if it had been 3 or 4 dates and things are going well, I wouldn't have assumed at that time that I should be initiating the handhold move. I would still assume that in order, because part of this too also, this is just a psychology thing, is that when women are making moves to you, they're in effect choosing you. If she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. And if she's choosing you, she can't be rejecting you. So this is why you want to build in scenarios where she has to choose you. This is why you don't text a whole lot, because it makes her think, oh, I want to hear from him, I have to text or call him. Or if you're walking around a museum, we want her to think, oh, he's not touching me and I want to touch him. So now I'm going to reach for him. Every time she reaches out to you, whether it's through text, whether it's through calls, whether it's through suggesting dates, whether it's through her touching you first and continuing to make the choice to touch you first, it's her brain saying, we are choosing this guy. And so, sad to say, maybe it was a situation where you grabbed her hand and at that moment in time, maybe she was thinking about grabbing it, but you grabbing it, again, made it look like you're reaching for her validation. You're reaching for her to say, please choose me. And maybe that wasn't the right time. Now, that could be the situation, or it could be a bunch of other stuff. It could be maybe during that date, she realized she just wasn't feeling it. I remember there was a time where I dated a girl. We went on like 3 or 4 really, really good dates. And then after that 4th date, she was just I reached out for a 5th date, and she was like, hey, I've been having a great time on these dates, but I'm just not quite feeling the chemistry. And so I'm out. Now, I was appreciative that she didn't ghost me, because a lot of women would have just been like ghosting or whatever. But the point is, just because we had 4 or 5 good dates, it doesn't mean that she was going to ultimately get to the finish line. This is why I tell you guys, 1, it takes 2 to 3 months for women to solidify their feelings for you. So within that 2 to 3 months, that could also mean she decides at any given time, she's good. She's vetted you enough to realize this isn't going to go the long distance, right? And as a man, that is going to frustrate you, because you, who already put your hopes on this person after 2 or 3 dates, is not going to understand the sudden stop in her emotion. And that's why I tell you guys, it takes that long for women, because don't think because she's had 4 dates with you that she completely built up her feelings enough to where it was going to be totally established. That is not the case. Women need that extra time. Even if she's telling you all the things on date 4, oh, you're so great, oh, I can see a future together, you are not at month 3. So I just blanket assume, if I'm not at month 3, at any given time, this could go away. I want it to last, but it doesn't have to. And that's just, we all have the right to choose. So just like I'm wanting to choose this girl to be with during that 3 months, she has the right to also say, but I'm not feeling it anymore. Yeah, it was great, but maybe she realized with that handhold, is this the hand I want to be holding? Maybe between those dates, she reconnected with an ex, and then she went out with you just to make sure her feelings weren't there for the ex anymore, or maybe they still were, but she wasn't quite sure about that, and holding your hand solidified it. I don't know. This is also why I tell you guys, I stopped really trying to figure out why a girl dunked me or got rid of me, because that's time I could spend going to another woman, because if I try to spend time on it, I'm going to try to come up with 1,000 different reasons why she left me. And the reason our brains do that is because we want to try to figure out what thing we did that we can change so this particular girl will come back to us. This speaks to having Oneitis for somebody, and you can't do that because, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, women can be flaky. Women can be all about you one day and gone the next, and we'll just sit there to deal with it, because we can't just like force that person into a basement and be like, no, you're going to still be mine. It's not how this works. So I hope that maybe this isn't the end of your situation with this person, but again, there are other women out there. And it's a hard lesson to learn, but the quicker you're able to learn that, these kind of things will bug you less. And I found too, for example, hopefully you're not over texting this girl or trying to be like, well, what did I do wrong? Let me know, please, this and that. Hopefully you're leaving her alone, which could give her time to be to herself and realize that she misses you and maybe come back. Maybe. But we don't live in the land of maybe on this show. So while she's figuring it out, start talking to other women. If this one comes back, fantastic, amazing. And if not, fantastic, amazing. There'll be somebody else out there. So hopefully that answers your question. I know you're going through a difficult situation, so hopefully that works itself out, and hopefully you'll find somebody that's going to want to hold your hand in a museum, because ultimately that's stupid. But again, we're not here to talk about what should or should not be stupid or not. We're here to talk about how women are and what they actually act like and how to adjust to that accordingly. If anybody's got any other questions, I would love to answer them. If not, then I can, get off this live. But I'd love to sit here and answer questions all day. So if you have any questions you want to me to answer in the chat, by all means, feel free to leave them there, and I'll be happy to get to them. Again, I'm trying to see if there's any other potential things that I have on the docket here that I want to talk about. Nope, I'm pretty good. So anyway, if that's all the questions that I have for today, then thank you guys so much for joining this live. I do these quite often, so be sure to subscribe and like these videos and hit the bell so you'll be notified when I come on to these lives. Also, you can go to HarryWilmington.com and sign up for my email list. If you sign up for the email list, you will also get a free copy of my book, Texting Women Like a Boss. So if you guys that are unaware of why it is that your texting sucks with women and you want to figure out what to do that will actually work, then sign up for the newsletter. It'll be great. And then also subscribe to my YouTube channel, all the good stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. I will catch you guys on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Hey there, thanks for tuning in to Harry Dating Convos. Don't forget to visit HarryWilmington.com to download my free ebook, Texting Women Like a Boss. And while you're there, if you're ready to take things to the next level with your dating life, check out the Get Girls Academy membership program for exclusive strategies and live coaching. Go to HarryWilmington.com to learn more and join today. Lastly, if you've got a question you'd like answered on one of these shows, leave a comment below or write me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.